listening to NTParanormal After Dark. Nothing normal about it.
What is up, Paranerds? So we are back for episode 20 of After Dark Paranormal podcast. Yeah, definitely the podcast. And today I've got a special treat for you guys because we're going to interview somebody that we don't normally talk to. She's been on the show before a few times. Well, more than a few times. Way back in the early days of the show before we reformatted. And she's actually a part of our team. But you probably actually don't know, unless you read our book, you probably actually don't know a whole hell of a lot about her because she doesn't get a whole lot of FaceTime because she's usually behind the camera doing most of the videotaping. She's our videographer, and she's also a journalist, which she does like a lot of our case reports and things like that. But also, very importantly, she is one of the members of the team that helped me write the book, big sections of it actually, and she is a published author. Her other book is under K. Martindale, Healing the Vestigial Heart. Not exactly my type of reading, but I did read a big portion of it here recently, and it's good writing, even though it's not necessarily what I would normally pick up and read. And she helped write, co-write. Well, she wrote one chapter of the book, and then you helped co-write another chapter in the book. So, Kristin Martindale, welcome back to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me back.
So, like I was saying, you helped write like a big portion of the book. Like it's very, very I didn't actually know when you were first on the team, like, how good of a writer you were.
Well, thank you.
Actually, like, you kind of got roped into it because, you know, you were around and you're part of our friend group and all that good stuff. And, closer to the mic. Well, you can pull it towards you.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
Oh.
There you go. But, you know, we basically just needed extra hands on scene, and you were available. You were somebody we knew and we could trust, you know, not to do anything. And then I kind of found out, like, over time, like, oh, you're a writer too. And, you know, shamefully I didn't read, like, your first book because you're like, it's gay romance.
It's not your genre.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's like gay erotic romance.
It's not exactly. It's just tragic romance, but it does have some erotic scenes in there. But
okay, so the part I read of it so far is the sample, which is like,
it's the only actual explicit one in there. So
right, and it's in the first like 4 paragraphs,
I know.
And it made me feel funny, and I didn't like it. I really liked the writing. What was really good about it is, like, I don't read romance or anything like that's just not my genre, you know, but. You wrote a really relatable character so far. Like I was like, oh, like I've kind of been there. Like
yeah.
I get that. Like it was relatable. It was good reading, and it was really like your descriptions were really visceral. I really liked that part of it. Like you were really good at like setting the scene and making me kind of see what was going on, which is great because I hadn't read that before we asked you to help with the book, you know, and when I sat down with you and I was like, you know, this is what I'm looking for as far as how I want the perspectives of the stories to go. I want them very visceral and like you're there or whatever. And you wrote it perfectly. It never even occurred to me until after. I was like, oh shit, she can write. Holy crap. And the greenhouse was something you basically had written up before the group, which was based on your real experience. Yeah. And then I wanted you to help write about a case that you had helped with, because I wanted everybody to write something about, you know, before they were with NTP and then like a case that they helped with in NTPI, and you know, and that's the one that we kind of like co-wrote, you know, because you wrote it out and you basically wrote the whole thing. The only thing I did is I went through and like corrected facts and you just added a few things here and there, but you know, mostly it's you. All I did is I molded it so it kind of fit with the tone of everything else.
Yeah.
Pull it right.
Well, I don't want to put it on my mouth. Just, oh.
You can like tilt it forward too
Okay.
a little bit.
Well, let's see if I can figure out technology, because I can't. I'm just gonna leave it there because I don't want to break it.
I think everybody can hear you.
Yeah, probably.
So also Sarah's commenting on there saying we suck.
Thank you.
So she had her eye peeled Monday, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
She's got some weird freaking snake Plissken eye or something that she had to have peeled like a grape, and it's absolutely just horrid. So she's not on the show today. But yeah, so like I had a great time like collaborating and working on the book, and
I did too.
And of course you're a good editor too. Like you actually helped me edit my fiction and all that.
Yeah.
So like you're still taking a break from writing right now, right?
Yeah.
That sucks.
I have a lot of ideas, but I have that, I guess, brain foggy kind of thing where I sit in front of the screen and just nothing happens. So I've been trying to write the same book, I think, for 4 years now, and I've gotten maybe 6 sentences written.
Yeah, so. I'm kind of stuck on one myself too. Like I'm louder, Kristin.
Okay, I'll try to be louder.
Okay, maybe that'll be a little bit better. Apparently, I was pushing the wrong volume. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so Sarah says her eye peeling was Tuesday.
Gross.
Thank you for fact checking me. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I'm kind of stuck in the same thing too, because I've been working on a crippling fear for like 6 or 7 years. Like I've had most of that manuscript like knocked out.
And I need that to finish. I need to read the end of that.
I need it to finish too, but shit keeps coming up, and I haven't had time to get into it. But you should definitely be writing. You're a good writer. Now, I don't want to read any more of your romance because it makes me feel weird feelings in my pants for men. And you know, I'm perfectly comfortable with everything going on here, but it was odd. But it's because it's really good writing. You're a really good writer.
Well, thank you. That makes me happy.
So let's get into the nuts and bolts here, because everybody's gonna want to know what the hell you have to do with
NTP?
Yeah, paranormal investigation, because you know, it's not just, hey, we got a writer to help us out. Like I said, like in the beginning, you know, I was initially just told, hey, we need somebody to hold the camera. Kristin can do it. And I was like, okay, fuck it, whatever.
No, whatever. She's by. She's
Right.
nearby. She's available. Yeah.
But nobody was like, yeah, she had like experiences and these things happen. Like I wasn't privy to this information, and it meshed really well. So you're the only other member of the group that's not from Texas. Everybody else in the group is from Texas except for Allie, who is from the unholy place that we don't speak of.
Oklahoma?
Yeah.
The unholy.
I know you're kind of from all over, but like, let everybody, where are you really from? Where's home?
I mean, I was born in Louisiana,
Yeah.
but we were only there for very little time. And then I guess if we're going by the amount of time I've spent in a place, then Arkansas would be home, because I was there for, I think, 11 years. And then we moved to Oklahoma, and then we went in a circle because we just redid all that back to Louisiana, then Arkansas, then Oklahoma. And that's where I met my husband, in Oklahoma, and he lived in Texas, so I just came with him back to Texas because I hate every other place. And so that's just how I ended up here. But
so you're a Texas immigrant,
yeah,
basically, just from the correct side of the border that's not going to get you deported.
Yeah.
But when you lived in Arkansas, like you lived like up in the Appalachians, like
yeah, I was Mena, Arkansas. Like if you take the Tallahena Pass, right there.
Yeah,
Mena.
y'all are like straight hillbillies.
Yeah. That's why I have this amazing accent that I can't get rid of.
Well, and that's also awesome, because I think that's where, you know, you're going to get, like, a lot of the really good paranormal crap, too, is, like, out in the middle of nowhere. But I know your main story, that's Louisiana, though, right? The greenhouse?
Yeah, it's Louisiana.
Was that your first trip in there, or, like, later on? Yeah, that was, like, the second time you lived in Louisiana, right?
No, that was the first. That's when I was really young. That's when we lived in the greenhouse.
You've got so many freaking stories I found out about. I can't keep them all straight.
Oh, I do have a lot of stories. But the greenhouse was the big one.
So we're talking about the greenhouse. That's actually one of the main chapters in the first part of the book. And like the first part of the stories in the book deal with all the main group members' experiences before they were in NTParanormal, like what kind of got them interested in the paranormal, and that's kind of the one you pulled. I don't know if that's actually what pulled you into the paranormal. It was just a really good story. But so anyone that's like not really familiar with it, I mean, did you have an interest or a belief in the paranormal before your experience in the greenhouse, or did it just kind of all culminate there?
I don't think I really thought about it much before then, because again, I was very young. But my mom liked to spread the stories of like we related to the legendary, oh goodness, legendary
Happens.
Sally Baker in Louisiana, which there's stories and tales and all sorts of stuff about her being this bloodthirsty witch that was burned in Louisiana. And, crazy stuff about her.
And I think she's associated with like Marie, blah 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 blah, the chick from American Horror Story.
Oh,
Kathy Bates.
I don't know.
She totally hung out with Kathy Bates. So it kind of snowballed there, or whatever. So as far as the greenhouse, like I don't know, for everybody that like hasn't read the book, like kind of it's a pretty scary story. And I remember like when Sarah and Allie were first talking about you being a writer, they're like, hey, you got to read this horror story she wrote. And like nobody was like, hey, Brad, she actually wrote, this is like something that happened. Right. And I kind of put it off. Like I didn't read it until you showed it to me when she's like, you were like, oh, hey,
here's my story.
This might be good. And then I read it and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you just putting this on the website? This is ridiculous. Cause you'd initially, cause you do a lot of our blogs. And our preliminary case files, and you put those on the website. When you it reads like freaking Amityville, like it's nuts. Like it's so weird the way it kind of all puts together. But for anybody that hasn't read it, like kind of
sum it up for them.
Yeah, let's walk through it. So you're a little kid, you're living in Louisiana, you move into this house that's green. It's the greenhouse, right?
It's a 2-story Victorian house that was built in 1903.
Right. How long did you live there? How long was this story over?
2 years.
So just a 2-year period. So you beat the Lutz family by 23 months. So over the course of 2 years, like what were the first things that started happening when you lived there that were really just like out of the ordinary?
That were out of the ordinary? Well, I know the first things that happened, it was an old house. We put it on stuff settling. But the weirdest thing that started happening was that the way the house was set up, there were 2 staircases. So from the living room, there was kind of a spiral big up thing to a landing. And then in the back, if you were in the kitchen, there was this really narrow staircase that went up and then to the side and went upstairs also. And as long as you used the front stairs, it was just normal stairs. But if you went on the back ones, for some reason, I don't know if it was the way that the hallway was set up, but there was kind of, the sound wasn't right. So it sounded like something was walking up the stairs behind you. And at first we also discredited that as it just being narrow
like an echo, like the sound of your own footsteps, just kind of
going behind
bouncing
you
around and not making sense.
But then my mom started having really serious problems with the stairs, where she said that she would stop and it would sound like something was running up the stairs toward her, and it would scare her so bad that she would also run. So she said, especially one day, she had run up the stairs and all the way down the hallway to her bedroom and like shut the door and locked it. And she kept seeing a shadow passing underneath the door. And she thought it might be my dad, like pulling a prank on her or something. So she kept shouting his name and he wouldn't respond. And then she heard the downstairs door open and she heard my dad come in downstairs. And so she decided to poke her head out, and she kind of scaredly walked down the hallway and to the stairs, and she went to call out my dad's name to say, hey, something crazy just happened, but like nothing would come out of her mouth. And then she said she felt very cold, and then something just pushed her down the stairs, and she fell all the way down to the bottom. And as my dad was kind of over, like, whoa, what just happened? Are you okay? She said she looked up at the stairs, like, what the hell? And she saw a shadow just disappear.
And yeah, that's almost like a Michael Peterson situation right there. I don't know if you've seen The Staircase yet. The dude that he got put in jail for like 8 years for
pushing somebody down the staircase.
Basically, but you know, it's a weird case. You need to watch that documentary on Netflix.
I've seen it, but I haven't actually watched it, but I pass it by all the time.
You should watch it. You should watch the case, and then you should apply supernatural shit to it, and then be like, well, maybe he didn't do it.
Maybe.
But that's crazy. How credible was your mom as a witness?
She had
at the time. Like, people change over the years, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I guess she was pretty okay at the time. This was before she started working her crazy hour shifts at the prison.
Okay.
So it was before all that craziness. She kept a journal at the time of all the crazy stuff that would happen. And I saw that thing about 6 years ago, and I haven't seen it since. But I remember reading that, and at the time thinking, holy hell, I lived there? What is this? But yeah, she had a total recount of everything there. And I think she was pretty, I guess, reliable enough for a person who's scared of a house, but who knows?
I always have to ask that question in my head because, you know, I never really felt like I had paranormal experiences growing up, but I was always told, like, stories of things that sort of kind of happen or whatever, and, you know, I think my mom is a credible witness or whatever, but I think she's also, you know, more prone to believe things like that because that's kind of how she's brought up. So I always take it like with a little bit of a grain of salt because I'm probably too critical while she's not critical enough, you know, so it lies somewhere in the middle. Like I'm so critical, I'm probably a bad witness actually because, you know, I would write things, I would reason it away.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I actually really like the story of the greenhouse is that my mom was more of a believer. My dad was a staunch, just not gonna happen at all, and he has stories that are terrifying of that place, and nowadays he's a believer because of that place.
That's I love any story that ends with you know, shit went down and I don't believe in any of this crap, but there be demons in there or something. Something bad. So what are the other highlights going forward through that? So
there was the footsteps and my mom being pushed, and then after that it was a little more tiny stuff. Like, we were 7 people living in one house, and one day everybody's shoes disappeared. Just every single shoe in the entire house just gone. And at the time I think my brother was maybe 5, and everybody blamed him for maybe putting it in the trash or something like that, but they never found the shoes, and they just had to buy new ones for all 7 people. And so imagine how many pairs of shoes that is that just disappeared. That's a
common one we hear from like a lot of our clients, where like stuff just comes up missing to either be found somewhere crazy or just never to be found again.
Yeah.
And like when I was reading your story, I thought that one was cool because like 7 pairs of shit like all gone.
Yeah.
And you know, you always have to try to think like, okay, maybe somebody was screwing with somebody or something.
Like little brother, maybe he did it. We didn't have a dog at the time, so it wasn't a dog. And
yeah. And it's also from the perspective of like, you know, y'all weren't incredibly well off at the time. Shoes are expensive. That's probably not something that you just, you know, go throw in the trash to screw with your kids or whatever, something like that. So definitely something going on there.
Yeah, it was weird. After that, we did get a dog. I don't know if it was just a form of protection or because we were kids and we wanted a dog, but regardless, we had
probably column A and column B.
Yeah, maybe. But they got us a black lab who was just the sweetest thing when we met him. But when my dad let him out of the car, he was licking faces and tail wagging and all sorts of stuff. He was so excited. And then he went to pull him into the house, and he just froze at the staircase and was like, no. And he started growling.
Screw this.
And his hair was standing up, and he just could not get him to go inside no matter how hard he pulled. And then he started barking just forever. He would not stop barking. And so they decided, I guess he's an outside dog. He just doesn't want to be in the house. But every time he would get near the house, like, we had a pretty big backyard at that time, but every time he'd get near it, he would just bark at it and growl, and his hair would, and he was just kind of creepy, but that's why we called him Barker, because he just barks all the time.
Right.
But yeah, that was pretty weird that the dog just refused to go
Yeah,
in there.
and I mean, a lot of people feel like animals can sense, you know, things that are going on too. I also feel like, I mean, if I'm looking at it from the side of like a researcher, animals also have more sensitive hearing, so they're more sensitive to things like ultrasound and infrasound.
Yeah.
And even like high electromagnetic waves. So if there was something like that going on, I wonder if that wasn't
Yeah. Maybe
I
he was
wonder if
trying to
that,
warn us, like, hey, something's wrong with the...
or maybe it was just like painful
Maybe,
to
yeah.
him, sort of thing, you know, because, you know, it's like that ultrasonic thing hitting you. And I always wonder that, like, if some of that stuff accompanies a lot of paranormal experience, that would affect animals.
Yeah.
And then so that kind of thing would sort of go hand in hand, where it's like, I feel like I'm experiencing this paranormal thing, and the dog or the cat's behaving this way, you know, but it could still be like...
Yeah, it could be explained and
right,
rationally.
could be infrasound.
Yeah.
And it actually adds, like, a degree of legitimacy to the explanation, almost more so than, oh, animals can
Sense evil.
sense the other side.
Yeah.
But maybe animals can sense the other side. I don't know. Animals and kids.
They all say that cats are
And
happy.
how old were you when all this was going on?
I can't exactly pinpoint the year we were there. I think, based on what my mom has said, I was somewhere around 6 or 7. So I was really young.
So you were in that little kid stage
Yeah.
where most people would say, yeah, my kid is, you know, sees things,
Yeah.
or what sort of thing. So you were right in that sweet spot of
Vivid imagination, but also maybe
possibly, you know, the one that would notice it. And,
Yeah.
and you have siblings too. Like, we didn't
Yeah.
bring that up. You've got older sibling. Are you the oldest or youngest?
I have 2 older brothers, an older sister, and a younger brother.
And they were all living here at the time too.
At the time, yeah.
Right.
That didn't last very long, though.
And they all have stories of the house too, or whatever.
Yeah, they all had their own little individual things. Like my younger brother was very young, so he would follow stuff on the ceiling all the time and laugh and giggle and hide kind of nervously. And we're like, what is he playing with?
Yeah, I don't like that.
And then
That sounds horrible.
my older brother kept talking about ghosts in his bedroom that kept trying to get in the bed with him. And then the older sister didn't really talk about it. She wasn't home much. But then the oldest brother, when he would come to the dinner table, he refused to eat and would just stare down at his plate because he said that they were watching him and he couldn't eat when they were watching him. And so the 2 oldest one have a different mom. So before, I think it might have been after the first year or right before the first year ended, they both just went back to live with their mom because they just couldn't be there anymore.
And see, like, I always look for, like, the credible answer, the answer that's where it's not haunted sort of thing. But it always gets me when you have like, especially when it's like multiple kids that are kind of going through that sort of thing. Like, everybody's got kind of their own experience to piece together, because at a certain point, you know, you have to add, you have to lean into the credibility of the fact that people are having experiences in the house. It's not just like a couple of people kind of coming up with stuff. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of the cases we've been on where, you know, the person that invited us out and maybe one other person in the house are like, oh yeah, all this crazy shit happens all the time.
And then everybody else is like, eh.
Yeah, and then there's like 3 other people that are there that are like part of the family in the house all the time. They're like, I've never really seen anything.
Yeah.
And I always find that kind of odd. Hey, Tina from New Zealand.
Hello.
So yeah, having 7 kids in the house and like every single one of them just having this sort of, you know, experience of like dread, like not even just like, oh, weird shit happens in the house, but like oppressive sort of, this place sucks,
Yeah,
sort of stuff
to the
in
point
the
that
house.
you would just leave. So
So the big thing that happened in the house is like the super trauma inducing experience
yeah,
that's basically left scars on you.
yeah.
So what was that? What happened there? What's that all about?
Well, there are a couple, but I think we're talking about the doll. The
Yes.
doll incident.
Okay. So you have this. I actually didn't find. I found this out on it before I read the story. I found this out on an investigation
because I walked into a room and there was a doll in a crib.
Yeah, and it was like, oh shit, yeah, I'm not doing this. No, like what? And you're like, no, I have like a fear of dolls, and I'm like, oh, don't be a. But you're like, no, I have like the fear.
I have a phobia. Of dolls.
Pediophobia or whatever.
I do.
So what caused that?
Okay, so one Christmas I got one of those dolls that you get there about the same height as you, a little life-size doll that you can dress up and have little tea parties with, and she was my bestest friend and I loved her so very much, and so I spent all of my time with her. She was the best. And then after weird stuff started happening in the house, I used to keep her in the bed with me when I slept, but then I started getting kind of creeped out that she was there with me, so I started instead putting her in the closet in my room. So I would turn her toward the corner and shut the door of the closet and just leave her in there for the night.
I'm just curious, had you watched Poltergeist at any point before this?
No, I didn't see Poltergeist until I was like 11.
How did that go for you? So you were sticking the doll in the closet. You were turning towards the corner.
Yeah,
which is pretty rude, by the way.
Well, she deserved it. She was looking at me, but yeah, I started shutting her in there, and then in the morning I would wake up and she would be either sitting by my bed or on the bed or in a chair or kind of standing in between or just on the floor. And so I was like, well, Mom, please stop trying to put the doll back with me, because
I mean, it's creepy.
Yeah.
Your first thought is, and
Yeah.
then your second thought's, come on, it's somebody's moving the doll. But
so I was kind of keeping tabs. I was telling everybody, I'm just going to leave her in there. Please don't do that. And she kept doing it every time. So since I had so many siblings, I just assumed they decided to mess with me. And
absolutely.
so
yeah,
I
would have.
Yeah, I just assumed. And so I put her in the closet one night, and I went and just kind of laid in my bed, but I stayed awake because I wanted to catch whoever was doing it. I was like, I'm going to find the culprit who's doing this.
Right.
And then I just kind of drowsed off for a minute and then snapped right awake. You know how you kind of jerk. And the closet door was open, and the doll was just standing on her own in between the closet and my bed.
Now, was it the kind of doll that, like, you could stand up and it would stand there, like, so it was rigid?
Yeah. So she was just standing in between the closet and my bed, just staring at me, and it was just such a horrifying thing for her to just be right there, just standing on her own, where I had only been asleep for half a second, and it was just terrifying. So after that, I just told my mom, throw the doll away, I don't want it anymore. So she gave it to somebody. But yeah, since then, pretty much anytime a grandmother would give me a beautiful porcelain doll for my birthday or something, that went under a pile of clothes in a closet somewhere. And I maybe saw it 4 years later. Just no.
I wish you knew. I wish you remembered who you gave that doll to, because I would love to just like call them up right now. Hey, did you ever have a doll like, you know, attack you in the middle of the night?
No.
That would be pretty scary. I had a I say similar. Like I've had a situation where like I was sitting there and I was awake, like reading or something like that, and I've like dozed off and woke back up. And like I remember one time in particular out in high school, like I did that, like I nodded off, and it was just like a second like that, but the clock went from like 8:30 to like 10:45.
Yeah, so the time could have just flown by, and it might have also been like a nightmare or a night terror. So yeah, there's a lot of things that could explain that away.
But at the age of 7, dear God, that would like totally suck, because you wouldn't have a real good concept of time anyway.
Yeah.
But so like if somebody was screwing with you and constantly getting that doll out all the time, right? You know, you might have dozed off, and then when they put it there and they kind of like left, closed the door, it could have woke you up.
Yeah.
But it's enough to be traumatizing, and that's why you shouldn't mess with your little brothers and sisters' kids, because then they grow up like Kristin, and they can't be in rooms with dolls or mannequins, because you had a hard time at the
jail,
the Grand Prairie Jail Museum, because they have an entire room that's got like 3 mannequins and 4 dolls in it, and they just, that's where they live. They just hang out there.
Oh, it's a lovely room. I love that room so much. I think you loved it too, especially the mannequins are your favorite.
I think I enjoy most after I found out you had a fear of dolls. sending you in specifically by yourself into rooms with dolls. Hey, go do this experiment and tell me it's not freaking haunted.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, you're one of the skeptics in the like the bigger skeptics in the group. Like you're like we specifically use you in a capacity to be completely objective. Like you know, when me, Sarah, Allie, and Dawn all go in, we're the ones actually, and you help sometimes, but mostly you're in the capacity to observe us doing the experiments and observing the paranormal, to kind of monitor how we're reacting and stuff. But you're probably, even though you had like this experiences, and then you had other experiences later too.
Oh yeah. They got progressively worse over the years.
Which is, it makes no freaking sense, because you keep telling me all these great stories about shit that's happening, and you're like, oh no, this definitely happened. And then, you know, we're talking about different case things and you're like, I don't know. Well,
I'd like to explain away what happened to me.
I think you're living in denial.
That might be part of it.
Like more than me, I think you're living in denial, because me, like, I had some stuff happen, and then, you know, I found explanations for it, and I'm okay with most of those explanations, but mostly those explanations just make me feel better about it.
Yeah.
I think you're really fucking reaching.
Well, I see some explanations in some of it, and I can go, oh, well, it was that, and then I assume, I guess, maybe incorrectly, that if these have an explanation, these probably also have an explanation. So, although I haven't had a chance to kind of look into it,
test those specific things, right?
So I'm like, well, if his behavior problem wasn't possession and it was actually drinking, then this is possible that maybe I was just having nightmares, and so just
I know that I don't want to harp on it too. I know some other things happened in that particular house, and then you, but that kind of like shut you down for a while, because that was scary enough. But at some point, you and your mom, crazy lady keeping the journal of all this crazy shit going on, picked back up and started doing like ghost hunts of your own. How long was it before you were like able to do that again?
I think we started doing that when I was about 14. So
about
7 years, 8
something
years later, something like that.
Okay, that sounds a little bit better in my head, because like I had my experience and I was like immediately into it, but you know, I didn't have like fucking dolls bum rushing me and like blood pouring from the walls and dad possessions and shit going missing and lights in the minutes and, you know, the house disappearing. Wait, see, it's just poltergeist at this point. Yeah, like my stuff wasn't scary. I was like, oh, this is cool, and I went and did it. Like, how did you get to the point from...
Okay, so it's actually kind of a funny story, kinda, in a way. So, after the greenhouse, we've lived in 19 houses. That's how much we loved moving, apparently, but 19 houses.
And you're not even an army brat.
Not at all. We just liked to move, apparently.
Your parents are squatters.
Yeah.
Just so you know, your childhood is completely just kind of like obscured from you. Your parents were bums. That's what's happening.
It seems accurate. But no, we've lived in 19 houses. And the greenhouse was the second house we lived in. And then we didn't have anything happen until I was 14. And we lived in another 2-story house in Arkansas. And we had very little things happening there. Nothing that was of importance. But it reminded my mom of the greenhouse, about how we had crazy experiences there. So she started telling me stories about the greenhouse at that point, things that I didn't remember and things that had kind of been forgotten over time. And so when I was that age, she said, it's really interesting, isn't it? And I had never thought about it really up until that point. I guess I was so young that I just kind of blanked it out, but I thought, that is interesting. I kind of want to look into ghosts now. So I got into that age of like 14 in that area where you kind of think you have special powers like everybody does. So I got real hardcore into we're going to do seances at night.
I don't know. I don't think I ever had special powers.
Well, me and all my friends in that teenage year, we had that little thing of where we'd get together and have our own little coven, and we'd have our seances, and we'd do the light as a feather, stiff as a board. And
guys don't do that.
Well, girls do, apparently.
we get together and we like mash our action figures together, and then we steal our sister's Barbie dolls, and then we mash those together. Yeah.
Well, we went the route of trying to look up weird things to do with candles online.
Okay, so you like, that wasn't even ghost hunting. You just you're like, hey, the occult is a thing.
Yeah,
let's do that.
I got really interested in that, and then my mom saw that I was having fun with it, so she said, hey, you want to go see a haunted place with me?
Okay, that's most parents that are like, oh, my kid likes the occult, their natural reaction isn't, let's go hunt for the dead. Oh, so you want to be a necromancer? Okie dokie.
Yeah, she was very, very open and happy to oblige of taking me to a haunted place just to see if I'd have fun. And so she took me to, I think the first time was a cemetery in the middle of the night.
We all start there. It's okay.
Yeah, in the middle of the night, and it was just us, a camera, and a Ouija board. And we just played for a few hours and then got bored and left because nothing happened. But after that, I started wanting to go to more places, and my mom was like, well, there's so many places I've always wanted to visit. So, yeah, it's a girl puberty thing.
Puberty equals the occult. Okay. I'm going to have to remember that. Yeah. Puberty equals the occult.
So, yeah, that's how we got started. It was just, she had always wanted to, but didn't have anybody to do it with her. And then I had just reached an age where I wanted to. And so she was so excited to bring me to all these places. So, yeah, it started when I was about 14.
Okay, so you're getting funny feelings, hair in weird places, and you want to raise the dead.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. So,
sounds accurate.
So it took about 7 years. So did y'all ever find anything, like any good evidence or anything like that?
We had a few experiences. Nothing really big, though. We went to one place called Ellerby Road School in Shreveport, Louisiana, or Bossier City, regardless. And it was just one of those places that had a lot of tales around it. Right. And we didn't really have anything crazy happen. We just had, at one point I was standing at the end of the hallway looking out of an open door, and I saw like a black something rush by, and my first thought was, oh yay, there's a kitty, I want to play with it. So I went to follow it, and I followed this black thing.
Oh god, I already know where this is going.
It kind of zip-zapped, and then it went into a breezeway. And as I was going into the breezeway, my mom was standing there, and she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm following this cat. I really want to pet it. And she said, leave the damn cat alone. And I was like, no, I really want to pet this cat. So she said, okay, well, have fun. And she kind of trailed along behind me as I was following it. And then... This
isn't true fashion, too, because I think... Everyone but me in the group has this like
animal obsession,
animal fetish, almost. Where it's, I mean, because we had the thing at Kyle. It's like, oh, there's an injured animal. Let's go. Ouija board. She's making fun of your accent.
Leave me alone.
Ouija board. I have this great clip of you from the Arlington Convention Center
where my accent got really thick.
It gets so thick when you're scared. It's so cute. It's hilarious because you're in the camera. You're like, you'll never guess what happened in the bed. I'm like, what? And you're like, it's just, dude, I like replayed it 30 times.
I watched that clip and thought, wow, I did not know.
I didn't know there was an R in movie.
That's sure enough to murder.
It was so great. But yeah, you, Allie, Sarah, Katie, when she was with us, like, if there's any like hint of an animal, living, dead, from the other side, fucking alien, shapeshifter,
you're going to follow it.
You're like, I want to take it home.
Yes. So yeah, I followed the black thing, but we got to this hallway that was especially dilapidated. Like everything had been ripped off the walls, and it was an old school. And I was watching it as it kind of started like phasing in and out and zipping back and forth. And I looked over at Mom and I said, that's not a cat. And she said, no, the hell it isn't. And then we watched it continue down to the end of the hallway and then just go up a wall and then disappear. And we looked at each other and my mom just went, okay. And then we turned around and started walking off.
Fucking nope.
And I was like, what was it? And we don't know. We didn't get any photographs of it. We didn't get any video of it. We just have, she keeps wanting me to say Ouija board, Arkansas. What? Why do you want me to keep saying that?
Shut up, Sarah. you know, you're just in the other room. Why don't you bring your gangly eye in here?
But yeah, we didn't get any kind of anything.
I think at a certain point, like, I would nope out too, because I end up doing some pretty crazy shit on our investigations too. It's like, oh, that's going on in there, but like, the more stuff we've seen, the more times I'm like, I ain't going down those stairs.
Yeah.
You fucking forget it.
Sarah's shoving a note under the door.
Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ. So like Allie and Sarah, you basically did the ghost hunt, you know, in which, you know, I always say with disdain, ghost
like
hunting.
the ghost hunting phase,
We're not getting evidence. We're going out and having these stupid experiences. So you did that for a while. It was your adolescence, you know, you're, you know, feeling funny and doing the occult or whatever. But at some point, years later down the line, you know, you married your husband, who was friends with Sarah, you know, and then y'all were roommates for a while, and then eventually you started doing the paranormal thing with us. Yeah. And my impression in the very beginning is, like, you were really kind of disinterested in it, actually, well,
I can explain that.
Well, and I kind of know why. I mean, I know why now, but it's because, like, you were kind of used to doing things another way, and I'm really, you know, like, I
Well, no, it actually started when I was still doing stuff with my mom, because we started out with that ghost hunting phase of we wanted to go out and find ghosts, and then we started actually learning real history behind the places we were going to, and to see such a disconnect between what the rumors were and what the truth was. Like, for example, Ellerby, the legend of it was that it was a janitor who locked all the kids in the auditorium and then burned it down, and that's why it shut. And in reality, it was just a school that opened toward the end of desegregation, and it had such a low population to begin with that when it became desegregated, it just closed down because there weren't enough people there. And then
that's like straight up Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the other one that we went to was a place that the rumor was that it's an uphill, and if you put your car in neutral, you can feel something pushing. You could feel something pushing your car up the hill. But when we went out there the second time with, like, a leveler, we realized that it was just a trick of the mind, and that it actually was a downhill. It's just the way that the trees were.
Every place has that same sort of thing.
So we got into more of the busting at that point. So we'd go back to all these places we'd been to with the knowledge of what actually happened. And it just kind of ruined the fun, I guess, at the time. And then learning that Sally Baker was not a witch. Like, her actual thing was that she was a landowner whose husband did die of a heart attack. And then because she was a woman in whatever year it was, having her own land, the government wanted to build a dam on her land, and she refused to sell. So they started spreading these rumors that she was a husband
to try to
stuff.
discredit her and all that.
And so she eventually sold, like, right before she died of natural causes.
It's funny that kind of sucked the fun out of it for you, and that's pretty common. Like, a lot of the boards I'm in or people I talk to, you know, when they're looking at the way we do things, that they really focus on the way we do, like, a lot of the debunking and the you know, figuring out what's what before we call anything paranormal. And a big portion of that group gets, like, turned off from it right away, because they're like, oh, that's no fun.
Yeah,
you know,
it really does suck the fun out of it when you start to put
but for me, like, it's the opposite. Like, I have fun finding the answer, whether it's paranormal or not.
Yeah.
Like I get into the history aspects of it, the mechanical aspects of it. And even if there's, like, all these crazy stories, if I can actually do things to get to an actual answer, like a conclusion that way, I almost like that better than coming away with, like, a paranormal story. Like, the paranormal stuff is really cool. I mean, that's what we're out there for. But to be able to piece it all together like a puzzle and actually bring it to a conclusion, as opposed to, I don't know, like, it's more fun for me, actually.
Well, that's why I kind of changed again, because it went from the ghost hunting to the ghost busting. Then it sucked all the fun out of it. And then I was interested to know why the rumors started, what's actually causing. So that's why I kind of morphed again into I want to
which was like kind of like my next question was like leading into. So, like, you ended up going along with NT Paranormal, and like at first I thought it was kind of a disinterest, and I realized you were just kind of stepping back and just, you know, kind of watching what we were doing, because like when we first brought it up to you, you know, hey, can you come run the camera or whatever, we were coming back with like all these stories, like we were just out ghost hunting or whatever, so you probably didn't have like a real good gauge of it. So okay, the question aspect of what I'm rambling on about is like, how do we do things different than what you have, like what you and your mom did, and what you've seen other groups do? What do you like and dislike about it, and has it changed your viewpoint on anything at all since? Because like when you first came in, you were just straight skeptic. I mean, you're still pretty skeptical. I mean, you're real critical, but it seems in my eyes to have softened a bit. So I'm just kind of curious, like what we do that's different. You know, what's fun about it? What parts of it aren't particularly fun, and like how has it changed? Like like from your side.
Well, I know when I first heard you guys were out ghost hunting or doing the ghost hunting thing,
right.
I just assumed that you were doing what me and my mom had done, which is going to a place.
Which to be fair, like the first like 5 or 6, that is exactly what we were doing. We were sneaking into graveyards with, you know,
a camera, a recorder, and screaming into the void kind of thing.
Not even a fucking camera. We would just go. Me and Sarah wouldn't have anything to do on a particular evening, you know, because Allie worked nights at those times. Everybody like that I hung out with had a different schedule than me at the time. So Sarah was Allie's best friend, and Allie was just like, "We'll go hang out with Sarah." You know, y'all like going out at the same time. So she was like, "Well, let's go to a graveyard and try to summon the dead." So that's what we did.
Yeah.
And I think we did that like maybe once. Well, no, we didn't do that before I had my experience. What we had done is we went to her house, because it was before you moved in over there, actually, because everybody had said they'd seen something there, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And we tried to do this, like, haphazard sort of investigation there. Like, none of us knew what we were doing, and all we got was, like, mariachi music from the neighbors next door. And then, like, we never did that again ever. And then after I had my experience, we were already hanging out on the weekends, and they were like, okay, let's go out and try to
place.
Yeah, let's try to do this, because this actually happened to me. I believe it now. And then we were just going out with recorders like jackasses and scaring ourselves.
Yeah. So when it started, I just assumed that's what you guys had done.
Fair
and
enough.
That's what you were always doing. I just assumed you went out and just yelled at the darkness. And so whenever Sarah started talking about some of the stuff that you guys were experiencing, I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. You need someone extra to come out and and talk to the trees. And so I came out with you guys the first time, and I was so surprised by the difference, because when my mom and I would go out, it was just a recorder. We'd go sit down somewhere and we'd just talk to the grass. And you guys started pulling out just equipment and more equipment.
Because I had sunk like paycheck after paycheck into it.
And there was just...
Well, that's why you got invited along, because I was like, hey, I can't hold an EMF detector, a camera, and a recorder, and a thermal camera. And, you know, it's like the list was getting bigger and bigger.
And so I was surprised to see how much equipment was coming out, and then to see how long it took to set up. And then the preliminary walkthroughs, and you guys like really... It was interesting to see the huge difference between what we had done and the level of professionalism I was seeing. So that was already interesting. And then I got taken back a little bit, just because, you know, in my opinion, sometimes following you guys around, you're a little jumpy. So I was like, oh, they're not that professional. It's fine. And then as time progressed on, you guys just got more and more and more into the science and actual research part of it, and that to me is really interesting. So I started liking you guys more and more as we went on, because it just turned from ghost hunters into researchers. And so it did skew my opinion a lot of... Well,
it's so weird, because my own opinion of what we are now is drastically different too. Like I was telling somebody at the con recently, like I almost regret calling, or, you know, because initially we were just North Texas Paranormal, and then I found out it was taken, and so I had to like rebrand it, or because we were starting to make videos, is what it was, because like, and it's so awesome that you said, oh yeah, the professionalism, because we weren't even trying to like put it on the internet yet or anything. Like it sounds great that we were being professional, considering we were just doing it for us.
Funsies, yeah.
Right? I mean, we're still doing it for us to a degree. But I mean, you know, we have a podcast and all that.
Yeah.
But so I rebranded it, and I was like, all right, I'm going to call it NTParanormal Investigations. Like, I'll make it like a company, but, you know, not. And I was telling somebody at the con recently, I was like, I really hate that I called it NTParanormal Investigations. I really wish I had called it just like NT, like North Texas Research or something like that. Because I almost feel like what we do now, even though we're investigating claims where paranormal activity has happened, we're almost not even researching that. We're just going in and doing environmental research, checking. We're checking different things that could be the cause of paranormal activity. But like our goal change, like in the beginning, our goal was just like everybody else, where our goal was to go in and prove that paranormal is a thing. And then somewhere along the way, like a switch flip in me and Sarah and Allie all realized, hey, we all have like training in these other aspects of our life that they don't have anything to do with paranormal, but they are way more credible fields than calling yourself a paranormal investigator. And I was like, well, let's just go out and use that and just do scientific research and see where that goes. So really, when we go out, I mean, yeah, we're investigating paranormal activity, but you could also, you could call us up and probably ask us to do a forensic analysis of a room where a murder happened, and we would take like almost all the same shit with us and come up with like actual answers, because that's how we approach it. Yeah. And it kind of evolved into that. And it's weird looking back and trying to figure out like exactly how I got there. And I've been thinking about it a lot like the past week, because you're going to moderate the
debate.
Yeah, the grand finale, the end of season podcast for the debate on demonic possession. So I'm getting shoehorned into the taking the side of the believer, right? So so even though that's not my personal belief or whatever, you know, I wanted both sides of it argued. So Sarah and Zach are going to be on the skeptic side, which fits perfect because they are skeptical of it. Yeah. Allie's a little bit more to the middle of the road, but she's come to the dark side of skepticism too. Well, I mean, we've been doing this a long time, and seen a lot of, we found a lot of explanations for a lot of different things. Yeah, it
kind of changes your viewpoints,
right? And none of us don't think that there's nothing paranormal. We don't necessarily think there's demons and ghosts and or to different degrees and stuff like that. So Allie's probably the most middle. You're actually somewhere kind of, I would say, in the middle, and then I am really on the skeptical side most of the time, but to get ready for the debate, I'm like trying to put myself in the headspace of
a true believer.
Yeah, and so, you know, I'm watching all these videos of real exorcism. I'm reading all these documents where people document it and stuff like that, and I'm really trying to look for that evidence that makes it like real. And what I noticed is over the past couple of days, especially a couple of videos that I watched recently, I'm starting to get that chill that, like, I slept with the light on last night, because it's like it's putting me back in that headspace from when we first started. Like I've got a little jaded doing the investigations the way we do them. Like stuff still happens. I still get startled and things like that. Yeah. But I don't get that like sort of amped up fear the same way I used to.
Yeah, that's understandable completely.
But last night, after watching a whole bunch of crap that's really, really convincing, which like it's convincing even to me. Like, sure, I can go back, I can make some plausible ideas about some of it, but like the stuff I'm specifically looking up is people making cases for demonic possession, exorcism, and stuff like that. And there's some really visceral stuff in there that's like, damn, I don't know if I want to go wandering around in the dark in places people say they saw demons, sort of like nothing's ever happened here at the house, and I was like, I'm not sleeping with my bedroom door closed. Like, this isn't happening. So with the way we do our studies, how has your viewpoint changed? Because you went from, you know, being a little kid, having all those, like, that shit's real. And then went ghost hunting with your mom and kind of, okay, it's all kind of fake or whatever. And then you went out with us and saw what we were doing. And the thing is like, I always see you kind of on the hardcore, like pretty far high on the skeptic scale, but our group still finds evidence like regularly. Yeah. Regularly as you can for finding real paranormal activity. And you've never been one to look at the stuff that we present and like dispute it and just say we're totally nuts. But I still don't see you as somebody that's like convinced of the paranormal. I'm kind of
trying to figure out where I lie on the scale.
Yeah, I'm like, how has working with us changed like your viewpoint, and where do you lie on the scale now? Like, what do you think is going on?
You know, I don't really know. It's kind of, I guess I'd be in the middle now, because I've watched what you guys do, and I like it a lot, and I like to see the fact that you'll debunk your own stuff if you have
constantly
to believe it.
Yeah.
And so when you do find something that you can't debunk, it leads me to be a little bit more open to the idea, well, maybe there's not an explanation for that yet. And so, especially on some of them I've been on where I've had an experience or something, or I've been involved in an experience, it kind of brings me back to the good old days of whenever I was actually ghost hunting with my mom, of maybe there is something here and we just can't explain it. So I think over the I don't know how long I've been with you guys, a couple of years now, I guess, I know that things have changed a lot. From I started out as a staunch, nope, nothing's here, we're just gonna see it's crap. And then over time, it's, well, you know, maybe
something
not.
Could actually happen.
Yeah, maybe it's just something that we can't explain yet. Maybe it's something that there is a reason for, but we just don't know. And so it's kind of, I'm just toward the middle now, I guess, of it could be, it couldn't be. I want to see the research. I want to see the evidence. I want to see the proof. And so it's not just absolutely no or absolutely yes anymore. It's just show me the evidence. And
yeah, I'm at the point where like I'm confused about my own standing in it too, because it's, you know, I don't, you know, if you hold my feet to the fire and ask me, I'm going to say no, I don't believe in ghosts. There's a lot of paranormal crap I just flat out do not believe. There's and it's not just because it's real easy to say there's no evidence to support it. I mean, there's no evidence to support a lot of shit that, you know, that could possibly be true. But we have found specific evidence that disproves some of the things that we're told in specific instances. And I always take every case like a claim at a time. Like I don't put I try not to put blanket statements out there. For the most part, I have seen that there's really no evidence of ghosts. But saying that, God damned if we don't find evidence in places. Like I know we can say it over and over again, but we can never prove it to like everybody, you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt. But like you've worked with, you know, our EVPs are real. And we only have like 3 or 4 that we really feel are okay. This is absolutely something that's not us. Blah 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 blah. We have a few pictures. We know we have not faked these pictures. We have video. We know we did not fake this video. And so I know there's these things going on, but I still don't believe in like ghosts and a lot of these paranormal claims. So I'm also lost in my own
that's exactly how I feel.
Because I don't, you know, we get these things, and actually that little bit of evidence that we get, I feel it stands apart from other people's evidence because we are so critical of our own. Yeah,
we're so quick to go, well, that's this.
Yeah, it's denser evidence. Like it has a bigger density to it. So, you know, picture for picture, if this group produces 10 pictures of a ghost, but we only produce 1, like our 1 picture holds so much more weight because we never claim
anything is anything.
And we never claim it's even a ghost. We're like, this is something messed up.
Something weird's going on here. We're not sure what it is, but here you go, kind of.
I just, you know, and I kind of stand by, you know, I don't think ghosts are like the souls of people like wandering around and talking and stuff, because everything we've seen that seems like it's human doesn't seem like it's intelligent. It seems like a residual sort of like replay sort of like, I think that's a thing, even though I don't think any of the mechanics anybody's put out there are necessarily on the money. Everything intelligent, especially the one thing intelligent we've talked to where it talks back, you know, it makes sense and things, it never seems human. And I don't like the word demon, but it seems like it's not human. Like alien is actually a better word than demon for me, but I think people think little green men, but I think something just not human, like it doesn't communicate the same way we communicate, it doesn't exist the same way we exist, sort of thing. And it's just always thrown me for a loop. So I'm like, where do I, after doing this for years now, where do I fall on it? Well, hell, I don't know. I just go out, I run these tests, I try to think of new tests, I try to do those, and we get weird shit.
Yeah, sometimes there's some stuff that we get that even though we have tried to explain away, there's just nothing we can say that will put that.
I think that's what really frustrates me about a lot of the other paranormal groups. Like when I'm talking to like on our residential cases or stuff like that, they'll be like, oh, this other paranormal group came in and they said it was this that, you know, they caught this evidence. That's great. I'm glad you caught that evidence. But then they'll say, oh, well, it was a level 12 demon sorcerer. And I'm like, how the fuck do you know that? Because no one knows that. For you to be able to claim that is total BS. You have no evidence that, like, we'll go in, we'll catch things that are nuts, like evidence, and like, here's the evidence, you know.
We can't tell you what it is. We can tell you what it isn't.
Right. We're like, it's not your house settling. It's not any of these explanations. It could be these things, and it could be a ghost demon baby man bear pig, you know. And they're like, well, what is that? Well, we don't know. If we knew, it wouldn't be a fucking mystery.
Yeah, it wouldn't be paranormal. It would just be normal.
So I get annoyed when I hear other. And I realize other groups may have like a medium or a psychic or whatever, which I don't 100% discredit. It's just not part of our study or whatever.
Yeah.
But I hate seeing other researchers like me that will flat out, you know, when I'm talking to them, they'll tell me to my face, they're like, oh, I'm not a sensitive or a medium or anything. I'm just an investigator like everybody else. But then they'll have like all this weird information about the spirit world and how ghosts work. And it's, I don't know, it's a slap in the face to me. And I feel like it's an unnecessary step.
Yeah.
You know, if anybody's going to be getting that kind of answer, they probably need to be going to their own sort of advisor after seeing the evidence or whatever. But that's kind of where I'm at on it. But so you think you're more in the middle now?
Yeah, probably. There's been a couple places I've been to that we will either get an EVP or a photo or something, and we can't explain it away, and so it's kind of brought me back toward the middle of maybe.
Yeah.
Sarah wants you to ask me about Kyle for some reason.
I'm gearing up to that.
Oh gosh, Sarah.
Jeez, impatient. She's not even here, and she's trying to run the show. But like when you first went out with us, you were more in a capacity, and I mean that's actually your job, is to be an observer. But there have been a few cases where stuff has happened to you, and you've suddenly kind of become part of the experiment or gone out and done that. Like, what experiences have you had on our cases, and what have been your favorite ones?
Well, I know whenever we were in the Arlington Center, I did have an experience in the bathroom where apparently a ghost was messing with women that were in there. And I had my camera at the time, and I just said, I was asking it a few questions, just saying some things, and then I eventually said, well, hey, I'm a woman, don't you want to mess with me? And then my camera shut off, and it just complete blackness left me in this bathroom. So I panicked because I'm suddenly in the dark. And
by the way, it looks brilliant on the third part, on the like static cam. You wigging out in there is the best.
And so I run out into the hallway because I'm now concerned that the camera footage is gone because I never stopped recording or whatever. And so when I bring it back up, it says, would you like to recover your footage, and I was like, oh God, oh no. So I brought it to you, and of course at the time, that's when I was panicking and my accent was very thick.
Right.
And then my camera shooter for the camera. And so there was there was that experience. And then I know at Kyle, when we went out there, I was getting a feeling like something was
I don't remember anything happening to you at Kyle.
Oh, yeah. When I went out there, I went with you guys, I think, 3 different times. And the first time, nothing happened. But the second time, I kept feeling like something was following us around.
Right.
And then I kept saying, like, somebody's walking behind me. It's weird. It feels like it's following us. And then
that's one of the common things. Like,
Yeah.
that happens to us all the time. Like,
Yeah.
it sounds like somebody's walking.
And then I was there the day with the key fob. The car kept...
Oh, you were there for that.
Yeah.
And that's where we got that really clear EVP, too.
Yeah, and so I was
my
there for
God.
that, and it was creepy. And I thought you guys were messing with me or something, because I always say how I never have anything fun happen. But then I saw Sarah holding it out like this, and it was just...
Yeah, I wish... I really wish some of that was on video. Like, we were trying to videotape it, and the audio recorder was working good, but we were having problems with the video because that was happening while we were setting up.
Yeah, like we hadn't
is
even
what
started
happened.
anything.
And like I think I'm just trying to videotape her like with my phone because it's all we have at the time. But yeah, the car alarm kept going off, and she's holding the damn thing out here
like-
because y'all were like, quit fucking with it, Brad. No,
Yeah.
I'm not messing with it. Like, y'all didn't believe me.
Yeah.
And
then we were like, well, maybe the fob's just messed up, and she's just holding it out. Nobody's touching anything, and the car's just lock, unlock, lock, unlock, lock.
yeah, it was nuts.
weird. So there was that, and then of course at the jail, I had quite a fun time the last time we were there, because I went out there with you guys twice, and the first time nothing happened.
You know what's memory is really funny because we all remembered going to the jail the first time and just being fucking bored. Nothing happened, right? So I'm in the process of like editing that episode, which of course it's both investigations together. Turns out stuff was happening.
Was it?
In the first time, yeah, Allie got like touched and pushed and it wigged her out. It's just not on camera. I was hearing, me and you were both hearing stuff in the upstairs cell. Like everybody forgot about like the experiences that happened. Allie was watching the static cams and like something banged on the window real hard. She thought it was a cat. Remember me and you went looking
Yeah.
for the cat? But the camera that's in that room, there's no way that's a cat because that board on the window is just like...
See, I don't remember any of that happening. I just remember
Like,
it
it's
being
nuts.
very hot, and that's all I remember
It was
about the first time.
Yeah, it was extremely hot. There wasn't a lot going on.
But
and me and Dawn were hearing something in the main room with the stove too. On that first trip, and we weren't able at the time. We debunked some of it later, just by chance because we had forgot about some of it between the two. But it's like that place erased our memory though, because I just remembered it being boring.
Yeah, all I remember was sitting there being very hot and wanting to go home because it was so hot. That's all I remember about the first trip. But that second one we took, and it was kind of cold. I don't know if it was cold, but cool enough. And
yeah, because I think it was like October or something.
Yeah, something like that.
November, October or something.
And yeah, we had a lot of experiences that I remembered there. I just remember being in the women's cell, and you guys had shut the door and not like latched it, but just shut it. So I was in complete darkness in that woman's cell, and I was sitting on the floor, and I had the camera with me, and I kept having this feeling like I needed to look up. And I would look with the camera over and over again, and there's nothing there, but I just kept feeling like something was on the ceiling. So I kind of put my camera down to let my eyes adjust to the darkness. And then after they were kind of adjusted, I looked up and I saw something crawling from that corner over.
Worst mistake.
And so I,
fuck that.
So I waited for you guys to finish up, and then I left, and Sarah went in there after me. And when she came out, she was like, "Did you see something on the ceiling?" I saw something on the ceiling. I was like, "Oh my God, me too." But
I remember because Allie had to go. That's why we let you out of the cell.
Yeah.
And we open, and you're just like white. And we're like, what happened? Nothing.
Nothing.
No,
I wanna talk about
I'm
it.
good. I'm like, are you all right? And you're just like walking down the stairs. Nope. And I'm like, all right.
it looked like something on all fours. It was black and very thin,
Crawling
just
on the
crawling
ceiling.
on the
Yeah,
ceiling.
that's what
And-
Sarah described too.
And so we went back later with the lights on, and we saw that the paint has some chipping in the corner there that's kind of dark. So maybe it was, I don't know, but it was
maybe,
yeah.
but
it was
like,
so creepy that we both saw that at different times.
the way y'all described it is just, it's a little too like spot on.
Yeah. Because you guys thought that we had talked about it before and that we had just kind of come up with that idea, but I hadn't said anything to her.
Right.
And then she didn't tell me a description. She just said something on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And that's when we started talking about it.
There's a lot of footage of that ceiling from when both of y'all were in there in the separate times. I haven't gone through all that part of it yet.
Like, why do they keep looking up at the corner?
Well, I'm trying not to go through all that stuff yet because we need to go back to the jail. I need to get you to go. I need Dawn to go. I need Allie to go and Sarah to go and myself to go so that we can all go in there and film interviews about our, basically like we're doing now, about all the experiences in there, because I'm changing the format of our show from like this like 45-minute episode to where we're going to release less of them, but they're going to be like longer documentary style or whatever.
Which sounds fun, but
yeah, it's a lot of work.
yeah, and it's gonna be hard getting us all with our schedules to line up. To go
well,
do that
I'm
kind of
trying.
thing.
I was gonna do it this weekend, like with Sarah, maybe Allie if she's available, and then get you another time. But I had forgot that Sarah was gonna have her eye peeled, so
Gross.
that might not actually happen this Saturday.
Yeah.
You've been on other investigations with us too. Like, you've been on a few now. You've done Kyle like a few times with us. You've done the jail museum with us 2 times.
Done the cabin, the Arlington Center. I've been on a few residentials with you guys.
Did you do A.W. Perry with us?
Museum?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for that.
Yeah, that was the first doll
Yeah.
encounter. Okay.
And then I was also there for.
You know that doll hissed, right?
No, don't tell me that.
Did you watch any of that video?
No, I refused to because there was a doll in
That we got EVPs of that fucking doll like hissing.
Maybe
at
there's
the,
a
at the
cockroach
camera.
living under it.
Nah, John's in there.
Gross.
The host that invited us out. John's out there. He's looking at the doll. He's like, "Hey, do you want to say something?" And it's just like,
There was a rat under it. It was a rat.
it's fucking horrible, dude.
Gross.
And we didn't get anything the second time we went back, like at all.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we live streamed it, but then we didn't even release a video for it because there wasn't anything with that.
And I can't remember the other place I went to. We were gonna go to a place called like White Church, and then we ended up at a different building in a cemetery, and it was really cold, and I don't remember what that place was called. It was like an old church that was empty except for the dead wasps all over the floor.
White Church.
White Church. I went with that with you guys to that one as well.
Was that the time we took Mike with us on the the only time he ever went on a field investigation?
No, I went. It was very cold, and I had to bring Allie to the bathroom because she was too scared to go by herself.
Oh, no, that was Chalk Mountain.
Okay, yeah, that's the one I went with.
Oh, man, I want to go back there, actually, because we ended up not doing a Chalk Mountain episode because we didn't actually find a whole... I remember we were wigging out because there was a headstone out there
With a light.
with like a light on it, and we're like... What the fuck is going on? Like, because it follows you if you move. It was just wigging us out. Chalk Mountain was good. We need to go back there.
Yeah, that was a fun place.
And then we did a White Church episode, but we didn't find much out there.
Because I was going to go with you guys to White Church, and then when we showed up, there was a car parked.
Right,
so
yeah,
we
the
went
serial
there
killers
instead.
were waiting in the freaking parking lot.
So we went
That's
to Chalk
right.
Mountain instead.
Yeah.
So
I gotta love those last-minute location changes. So someone who's highly skeptical, what's the most convincing evidence that you think has been produced, either by us or by anybody else? Like if you had to pick something that you think is just really just damn convincing to you, what would you say?
It would be the infrared monowavelength photography, because just the way that light and color and photography works, the fact that if you're getting a color back that is not your color,
Right.
to know that something else has its own light source, and yeah, that can be a car passing by, or even a lightning bug, or somebody with a flashlight, but just to get a photograph of all this red and then one thing that is not red, and you know that is something, you just don't know what it is.
Yeah,
and,
it gets you up to a certain point.
Yeah. And that one at Kyle that we got where it was all red except for that freaking gate where it's bright green.
Did I ever tell you that me and Sarah went back there on our own maybe 4 or 5 months ago? We didn't go in. We pulled up out front and we got wigged out. We're like, we're not going in there. I got a bad feeling about this. I don't want to go.
We always had a bad feeling going.
But this was really bad. Like, we weren't doing it. It wasn't happening. But we were staring from the car towards that back gate.
Mm-hmm.
In you could see like a green sort of halo around it, or at least I could. I'm pretty sure Sarah saw it too. Mm-hmm. But I was like, there's like a light over there, and she's like, oh, it's got to be like a street light or something. And I'm like, we both know there's no fucking lights back there.
Trees.
There's trees, and then there's open field, and there's a creek, and then there's cliffs. Like we've hiked that whole back like 15 miles. There's no lights.
There's no light back there because we've taken so many.
And we were seeing like you know, like if you're looking through woods or whatever, and somebody's got like their porch light off in the distance, you'll kind of see like that kind of halo through the trees. That's what it looked like, but we know there's nothing over there at all. Weird. And what's funny is it matches
that green picture.
It matches that picture we took, just not as like bright. Like it's almost like that picture just like brought it out, like intensified it.
Now I kind of want to go back out there and just see if we can find lights somewhere in the trees or something.
Me and Sarah keep talking about going back to hike it again during the day.
Yeah.
I ain't hiking that shit at night.
I'd love to go back to Kyle either day or night, but preferably not when it's
Sarah will
degrees.
take you. I'm still not ready to go back to Kyle.
Yeah, after watching that video that got put together for the entire episode, just watching that wigged me out.
I hated putting together that episode because I was I thought we had found everything we were going to find there. Like, I was like, okay, I know where all the bits of evidence are in these, and I'm just going to put it all together. But as I was making the video, like, I was watching long stretches of video, and as I was watching, like, older videos where we had gone through it and decided there was nothing in it, I was re-watching them, and I would find more
things that you could hear now or see
now.
now.
My God, and things that, like, we never thought to check, because like one of the big things that happens there is our voices get mimicked. And when you're watching just one perspective of the video and it sounds like me talking,
you just assume it's you talking.
I just assume it's me talking until like I was watching one video after another of the same conversation, and I realized in one video, it's in Sarah's video, you'll hear me ask her a question, she'll answer the question, and then I sound confused in the background from like a different location. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like I had moved 20, 30 feet, something like that.
Yeah.
Because she's like looking around, and I'm like, okay, and I didn't think anything of that. I figured maybe she just didn't hear me or something, but I was like, well, why do I sound confused if I just asked the question?
Yeah.
But it didn't occur to me for some reason until I was watching the other video. I was watching the same conversation from my point of view, and you hear nothing. I'm and the camera's right by me, so if I'm talking, you hear me talking.
Yeah.
I don't say anything. You just hear Sarah go, huh? What? Blah, blah, blah. And then I go, I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Like in the camera. So you can clearly hear me talking during that space in another camera, but you can't hear me talking in that space in the camera that's right by my mouth, which is impossible.
Yeah.
It's and I didn't, like, it never, ever
occurred until later.
Came up. And so I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I caught that. And I was like, all right, I'm going to put that in the video, but I've caught it now. And then it kept happening. Like, that happened like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Not just with my voice, but it happened with Sarah's voice, happened with Allie's voice. And I think it happened with Katie's voice too. It was just like really, really weird.
Yeah, that video is really creepy to watch, especially since I was out there a couple times, and I remember being just creeped out overall. And even though I didn't have as much happen to me as what's happened to you guys, just watching it, I'm like,
well, thinking back, it's creepy to go back and watch it because I'm like, okay, this creepy thing's happening, and I had no idea it was like going on at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm watching it and I'm like, well, what was I doing at that? Oh, I was worried about this thing in my hand and making a good video.
Yeah. And I think that's the most terrifying point. If you were to say that you went out and you experienced this thing, you went home, you checked it, and that was so, yeah, it's pretty scary. But if you go out there and you don't sense anything, you go home and watch it and all this stuff was happening, that's way more terrifying.
Oh my god, that's Carter. We went out there 4 or 5 times and we were like, this is the most boring place on the planet, but it was like the most active.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's like, it was basically just like, oh, I'm sitting in a dark room, and then we would go back and watch the video. It's like all this crap is happening the whole time, and we're just sitting there like everything's cool. We had no idea.
Yeah.
So really, that's the most convincing one?
Because a lot of things can be explained away. There's a lot of photographs and videos and sounds and things.
Because pretty much every other group hates our presentation on that. Mm-hmm. It's the people in the audience love it, but when there's another group in the room, they're just like trying to poke holes. And I'm like, you could have figured it out too. Because it completely, orbs are not a thing.
No, they're dust always.
Orbs are totally not a thing at all. Yeah.
But
ever.
I love the evidence that is like, here is factual science and here's how we apply it, because there's no way you can argue with the application. It is fact, it is science. Yeah. And then to have something crazy happen off of it, you might be able to explain the source, but
one of the things I have to push though, like when I'm presenting that evidence, is the fact that over like 2,000 pictures, only one of them came back that way. Mm-hmm. And even though it's really, really, like, I think it's awesome and it's really, really interesting, and I want to study it more.
Not constant.
Right. Yeah. When you're actually looking at data, it has to be a trend. So that's actually technically it's a throwaway picture, but like with every paranormal investigation, that's what they're looking for, is the one out of the million, which that's not how science works.
No. Yeah. I know you have to get a whole. You have to have it happen a certain amount of times, and
so I know what was going on at the time we took that picture, and there's some real world possibilities for it. There could have been a flashlight unaccounted for,
or I think it was summertime, wasn't it? So it could be like lightning bugs flying around or something.
I know it's not that. It could be an infrared heat flare because of the wavelength we're using. Yeah. There's a few things it could be. I did go back and check. It's definitely not a flashlight though, because we got other cameras pointed at the time.
Where you guys are.
What I'm worried about is that the image sensor on the digital camera is picking up a light flare from an IR.
Yeah,
and that's an IR light.
Yeah.
But it doesn't show up in any of the other pictures. But that specific picture is why we changed that experiment, where we use 3 different color modes now too.
So you can catch different,
But right.
I just like using real world science.
Oh yeah.
And I would love to go out and try to see if we could get that again, and if you are, but yeah.
God, I've taken so many pictures of that back gate with a freaking red flash, and it's just. And the only other time I've seen that again is like with my own eyes, and I feel like that's what we took a picture of, but it looks different in the picture than it does when you're like looking at it. But even having seen it, there's no explanation for what I saw either.
Yeah.
So it's just nuts. So that's your favorite. So like that's your favorite bit of evidence or type of evidence. What's your favorite investigation that we've done?
I think that's going to be kind of easy to tell. I really liked Kyle. I also liked the jail, just because, even though I don't remember,
fuck that jail.
The jail is like the first time there's nothing happening, even though apparently there was. And then the second time, just a lot of things happening.
Yeah, it went nuts that second time we were in there. I need to get Brandy some of the clips and evidence from it so she can show it on the tour.
Yeah.
Were you in the women's cell when something grabbed my hand?
Mm-hmm. When you pushed down on the bed and you're like, something freaking touched me. And,
dude, it yanked. That was not cool. Up to that point, like I'd never been touched. Like, I'd seen some stuff.
Yeah.
I'd heard some stuff. Some areas felt cold. Some areas felt warm. I felt kind of creeped out. Something grabbed my fucking hand.
Yeah. And so I really liked that investigation, especially the second time, because it did go wild. And then, of course, Kyle's going to be on everybody's just because something ain't right out there.
Kyle it feels so tame now. But, you know, another fun fact, right? So, so we've been investigating Kyle for, like, God, 3 years now. Or maybe 4, something like that. We've done all these things. We found all these things here. But no one's heard of this place, right?
Right,
Sort of thing. Recently, you know, in the YouTube hole of death, I was looking at just, like, paranormal videos. I found 2 separate people
that commented about?
No, that have gone out there and made their own videos. And did paranormal investigations. The first people that went out there got scared out, like in the video, got scared out by noises. And so I said that wrong. I found one other video where somebody had done an investigation. They went in and they got scared by, they thought something came in that back gate and was like stalking them. And they left, and I'd emailed them like, hey, we've been out there before, we didn't know anybody, check out our video because you got to hear what the history is behind it, because no one knows the history of it except us for some reason. And they were like, and I had said, I was like, you need to be careful out there. It's actually dangerous, not just because of paranormal stuff, but because of wild animals. And they said, don't worry about it, we're never fucking going back. and I was like, okay. Why? Yeah, I was like, why? And they're like, what we saw in there scared the shit out of us. And I'm like, what'd you see? They're like, I can't really describe it.
Yeah, but wasn't right.
They said it was big and it was scary. I was like, holy crap. And they hadn't seen our video yet.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I was trying to talk to them more about it, and they didn't want to talk to me anymore. And then somebody else and then the second thing is somebody commented on our video about they went out there twice. The first time he went out there, he said he got sounds of a horse and buggy coming up the drive, like the sounds of clip clop. And I'm like, dude,
we had that same thing.
You're full of shit. He's like, no, really, it sounds like a horse and buggy. I'm like, oh, dude, you need to go check out our video. And then he went to the other video and he commented, and he's like, yeah, we got all kinds of EVPs out there. It's a really creepy place. But, the last time I went, they were hanging like... And this is how I know he actually went, because he was talking about the coyotes that were hung from the fence.
Yeah.
Which I've never seen that, but Sarah was telling me about it because she was going out there before I did. And I'm like, holy crap. So I kind of know when he went out there. Like, I can put a time frame on it. And it's just... it's nuts to hear from anybody that's been to that location.
Yeah, it's so remote and nobody's heard of it, and then for people to have similar or pretty much
and what's funny is the 2 other people I've talked to, they're like, I'm not going back. Like, they got scared out of that place, left, and they're like, screw it, I'm not doing it. And we've done it like 14 times.
Yeah. And willing to go back even if it results in a skinwalker eating our face off.
That place is horrible.
I like it, though, because it kind of brings back that adrenaline of the good old days of, oh, we're going to go find some ghosts. Because you go there and you automatically know this place is not right. And so, yeah, it's a fun place.
So, going forward, if we could get any case, any location around the, all expenses paid or whatever, what's like what case do you want to see us do?
There are a few that I would love to see you guys do, but one
we guys,
yeah, I know. The one that I would love to do, just to put it to rest, is I would love to go back to the greenhouse.
Oh, okay, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I really want to go back there and try to explain away some of what happened.
The owners didn't answer my thing. I tried.
They weren't prone to it last time we asked them either. They said that they didn't want to invite anything out. So
bunch of pussies.
Yeah. So they said no to it, but the woman who owns it now, I think she's pretty old. So if at any time
it's just a waiting game.
Maybe she'll just be added to the group. But what? Oh, yeah. But yeah, I would love to go to the greenhouse. But other than that, my favorite things and something that I would love to be involved in is that I just have a special feeling for like old abandoned asylums. And so anything with like where they were crazy, insane asylums, old hospitals, anything
like Waverly Hills.
Yeah, like,
and there's
I wrote down a couple. I can't remember what their names are. Let's see.
There's one I'm saving up money for. It's in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It's I can't think of the name of it now.
Yeah, old hospitals. Most of mine are out of state, but I know that one of them in West Virginia, they let people pay to stay there. So they're either con artists or there's something fun there.
I don't care. I would still stay.
But yeah, there's a lunatic asylum in West Virginia that I can't pronounce. It's like Allegheny, something like that. But
Trans-Allegheny.
Yeah, there you go. And so you can pay to be there, but it sounded like a lot of fun. But most of the places I wanted to go to were either old, closed down, abandoned hospitals or just the greenhouse. And if we ever got out of the country, I don't know if it's technically haunted, but I'd love to visit Chernobyl. So
Yeah, the wolves have started leaving Chernobyl.
yeah,
I was reading an article about it, and so apparently the wolves are like irradiating everything now.
Lovely.
So, that's pretty awesome. So, I guess my other question is eventually, not this year, maybe next, like, we're evolving in how our studies are going. Like we're trying to, get the money for the EEG so we can do like the brain scan, and our studies are evolving. Like, where do you see that going? I mean, do you think we're actually going to prove anything at any point in time?
I don't think we're ever going to prove anything.
I don't either.
Think it's a provable thing.
I just don't think I can stop
Yeah.
trying to prove or disprove stuff.
Yeah.
Or just keep studying it.
And since my background is in psychology, so I just like studying how people work with this kind
You
of
like
stuff.
meeting all the crazy people
Yeah.
that think they see ghosts?
So I think with the way that it's going, I like that we're getting more scientific and we're looking at all the different possibilities from different standpoints. And I guess
You don't think it's ruining it at all?
I think for some people who are more into the gimmick of ghosts and demons and stuff, it's probably kind of ruining it for them. But for people who actually want an answer or an explanation or want to actually figure out if there's a way to study it, I think that it's headed in a really good direction. So if it does ruin the fun for somebody, they're just not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I'm leaning more towards the documentary style too, the longer runs, because like is an episode by episode thing. Like, we are not. We're not really the thrill seeker type. We're actually like researching and stuff, and so I'm finding it makes for a very boring like episode to episode. It doesn't work as a reality show. It'd be like watching people sit in a lab. It'd be like going to work.
Yeah.
So
it can be a little less fun, but I think overall it's a nice direction.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning more toward, like, with my film stuff, I'm leaning more towards becoming a documentarian rather than trying to put on a show or whatever. Because we do the podcast now, like, really regularly. This is kind of the show now, is where we talk about it or whatever, and then we'll put out like a documentary once a year, things like that. But I think I think sometime around 2020, hopefully we've done enough research. Because the thing is like, especially with EMF, or like our EMF studies, I have already moved on from some of the theories I wrote about in After Dark. Is the problem, like, because kind of what I wrote in there was kind of like a general idea what a lot of paranormal investigators think it is, and I left it kind of open-ended, like, well, we're kind of testing that, this is what EMFs really are or whatever. But the work we have done since I wrote those ideas about that has already evolved into something completely different, where I don't necessarily think EMFs lend a lot to the behavior of like paranormal activity or whatever. It's kind of like a side effect sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think once we get the EEG going, we're going to find more stuff. So there's going to be more research and stuff that I have to write about. And I'm hoping by like 2020, more of that is like, it's like fleshed out and finalized. Like we've actually gotten answers. So I'll end up having to write another book.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. And so like, I'm hoping you guys are down to collaborate on another book again, which there will be more cases in it because it won't have that first part in it where it's talking about like
what is paranormal and how things
right
work.
And it also won't be talking about like what our experiences were before or whatever. Although, you know, maybe in some of there may be some parts of the research where we're relating it back or something like that. But you know, one of the biggest complaints about our book that I've seen is it doesn't have any pictures.
What are we supposed to put pictures of?
I guess paranormal stuff, but then when we show the pictures at the cons, people are like, "Hey, are these real pictures?"
Yes.
I don't know. So we're getting to the hour 40, so we're gonna wrap it up. But
alrighty,
it's a lot of fun. We're gonna the next episode you're gonna be back for is actually going to be the debate episode, which you're gonna learn. We're gonna teach you how to moderate. Yeah,
because I have no idea.
Basically, you're going to be the keeper of the questions. We've got a lot of really good questions from.
Yeah, there were a lot of good questions on there. So.
Yeah, we got a lot of really good questions from the viewers so far, and we want to see more questions. And Kristin's gonna come up with some of her own too, and then The other thing I need to bring up about that episode, and I know it's still like 4 episodes away, but we are going to have like clips and audio, video and audio of actual like exorcisms that have taken place, and people that have mental illness or whatever. You know, it'll be a lot of comparison sort of things like that. So there will be like graphic footage in there that's not good for kids. So if this is something like you watch with your kid or whatever, I don't think, my personal opinion is probably not going to be appropriate for anybody under like 14, 15 years old. I mean, you know, you're a parent, you make decisions, but that stuff is going to be in there. So just and I'm going to keep putting that warning out there until
just know there will be disturbing images and
it's definitely not going to be a comedy episode like some of our other stuff is, because there's some serious talking points that we want to cover in it, and it's going to be an official debate. Like the rules are going to be that everybody's got 2 minutes to make their argument about it, and then then each person gets like a minute for like rebuttals, and then we're gonna score it up, go to the next question, and then we'll take viewer questions, things like that. So I'm pretty excited about that. The next episode of this I got coming up is I'm gonna be talking about lycanthropy and werewolves.
Should be fun.
Yeah, that's going to be the follow-up to the Bigfoot episode. But anyway, thanks for coming in. Kristin Martindale, published. You need to go buy her book if you like gay romance. If you're
into that kind of thing.
You need to go buy our book if you want to see some of her non-fiction horror writing. And don't you actually have some fictional horror out too?
I used to, but I pulled it because I thought it was crap.
Good Lord. Useless.
Authors, whatever.
I don't know. We need to get you writing more blogs.
Yeah, I do
for
need to get
us.
back into
that. Good stuff. So, anyway, next episode that Kristin will be in is going to be the debate, and then we're going to have her in for some, topics that, she's knowledgeable about and more geared towards stuff like that. So anyway, that's our episode for tonight. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. If you're going to go out ghost hunting this weekend, don't get into trouble, don't trespass. Don't murder anybody to see if they turn into a ghost, all that good stuff. So, everybody have a good weekend, and I'll see everybody soon.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
If you did and you would like to know more about NT Paranormal and our research, please visit us at www.ntparanormal.com or our Facebook page at facebook.com/ntparanormal. You can also check out our book, After Dark Paranormal Investigations, True Cases of the NT Paranormal Team on Amazon.com, or find our articles in Paranormal Hauntings Magazine. Before we go, we would also like to thank our supporters at Paranormal Hauntings Magazine, Paranormal Investigations Equipment, PIE, Ghost House Paranormal, the Granbury Paranormal Expo, and the Tyler Paranormal Conference. Until next time, everyone stay safe out there and stay open-minded.